In this tutorial, we're going to review the process of vendor swaps within a multi-store environment. The vendor swap is, in its essence, we go to IC maintenance, vendor swap. It is taking the current vendor and changing it to a different vendor. This is in the instances where there are two vendors in an item, and we want to change their primary-secondary relationship. So let me first show you what that looks like. If we go by example, let's go to item 709, 709, and just with a thought process of a single store. This is a multi-store video, but the essence is this, is what we're wanting to do in the lookup by for this product. This product, a do-it-best product, is established as a primary vendor partner, a PVPN. We would like to have this other vendor, say RBI Corporation, whoever that is, to become the primary, and do-it-best for the other vendor become the secondary. So it's the swap is what we're talking about here. Now, to do this, there has to be existing data in the lookup by. Otherwise, it doesn't have anything to swap to. If you don't have that other vendor, but you have a catalog, cross-check will create that relationship for you of the other vendors that are available within cross-check. That is normally done not at a one-by-one, as this case is. You would go under IC maintenance and cross-check, and that's for another day. So what we are wanting to do is, one, change the primary and secondary relationships in a single store. But what effect does that have in a multi-store environment? And that's what this video is really driving at. So this is, and we scoot this over, this is store one. And I have the ability to select on my menu driver on the other side of the screen out of your view is here is store two. So these are identical, which they should be, because the multi-store does synchronize data automatically within a window of about 2 minutes in the background. So whatever change we do, and I'm going to flip back to store one here, store one at the very top there, whatever change we make here should be reflected to store two. And in this example, we have a store three. So that's what this whole video is about, is what is the effect if I change something in store one, does it get pushed out to the other store? So let's go do that. So I'm going to go to store one. This is just a proof of where we are. We're going to close out of this, and then we're going to come down into IC at store one, maintenance. We're going to choose vendor swap. It's the same button as a single store environment has. The only difference on this particular screen is our multi-store options here regarding pricing. So vendor swap says, as I'll flip back to this other screen for reference, we have a primary vendor of Do It Best, and we want this other secondary vendor of RBI. So I'm going to switch back to store one just for reference. This is what becomes the secondary vendor. This becomes the primary vendor. So in this case, we want Do It Best. I get the right Do It Best. It's the orders one. This one right here, DIB. And the new vendor, I think we called it RBI. And there it is. So this is going to change the two positions. You do have options here of abandoning that vendor relationship. We're going to choose to keep that Do It Best position as secondary versus deleting the relationship. The RBI, now the RBI item has a different vendor part number than the item ID in the system. So let's go look to see what exactly I'm talking about. So right now, the Do It Best product, the primary vendor part number, has a 70979, which is the same as, on the General tab, as the item ID. If I choose this option, set item ID to vendor part number, it will do this. It's going to take RBI's number, their reference number here, the 1212121, and place it in the item ID. So it'll be known as 1212121 as the SKU to look it up. Now, based on what the function of the lookup by does, I will still be able to look this up by 709 and all these other part numbers. So it's not going to adversely affect the user's look. What it will do is a label that will be printed will adopt and have the item ID on it as the 1212121. So if that's not what you want, as far as replacing that vendor ID on the label, you would not choose this. We're going to go ahead and choose this just to see the fact of understanding this process. So the item ID I want to do is a 709. This is, yes, a very simple process, single item. This can be spread over to a portion of those item IDs equaling, like say 709, so it would be the 709, 8, 9, 10, or whatever. Specific class, specific manufacturer. So you can filter various methods. So in this case, we want to change from Do It Best being the primary. It's going to take a secondary position. RBI is going to take the primary position, and we're going to pick up the vendor's part number as the item ID. So here's our examples. All things on this system are working. So we're going to go as far as the back end communications, all that's up and running. So let's go ahead and select swap. A backup done correct. Yes, we have that done. That's normally a nightly backup through most TransAct installations. We're going to select yes, and we're going to have the process begin. So there is the change. So we will see that immediate change here at store 1. We're going to go to store 1, which we are at. Let's go look up 709, which you're going to say, well, what's he doing here? It's going to look up, there it is. It's the 1212121. And let's go look at the lookup by page. We know that this changed because we had the primary number change. We should also see, oh, there's RBI as a primary position. There's Do It Best as a secondary position. So that went through just fine. Now let's go over to store 2. Now we're landing on that page. There's been no refreshing. So let's simply move forward in the data, and then we're going to move back. My guess is it's not there quite yet because it's just a timing thing. It's only been a few seconds. So I come back to here, and there it is. We are again at store 2. The vendor part number has been adopted, as we see here, as an item ID. The Do It Best is now as a secondary. Let's go to store 3. So I'm going to go pick store 3 to the side. We are at store 3. An easy way to refresh this screen is just move forward and back. I would expect that this is now also updated, and there it is. So the vendor swap environment is very live in the multi-store environment. It is as simple as using the single store vendor swap, but it does reflect all the way across all locations. Thank you.